Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm just going to cook a few dishes just to put in the fridge for the week. Firstly, I'm going to start with a lasagna and a spinach quiche. So here I'm just putting butter in one pan and a little bit of olive oil in the other. I'm going to cook these dishes at the same time just so there's less washing up. So these are the ingredients I'll be putting in the spinach quiche. And I'm just going to cut up 2 onions now. These 2 dishes are pretty quick and easy. I'm not going to make it too complicated. It's the only way I can get my kids to eat spinach is if I make a quiche out of it. I'll put a little bit of music on in the background now while I'm cutting up these onions, and I'll be back soon. So I've cut up the onions into equal quantities and I'm just putting them into the pans now, and I'll just cook them till they're golden brown. Once that's golden brown, I'm going to put a bag of spinach in, which is 250 grams of frozen spinach. You can use fresh if you want, but the frozen is a great alternative for the fresh. So now I'm just putting 500 grams of lean mince into the frying pan and breaking it up because sometimes it can be a little coarse. And I'll leave that to fry now till it's golden brown. And I'll get into preparing the spinach quiche. I'm just going to grease the tin up now with a little bit of butter and greaseproof paper. These flan tins can be a little bit difficult sometimes to get into the grooves. And I'm just rolling out the puff pastry here, a little bit of flour. When you make a few meals at once, you are all over the place. So now I'm just checking to see how the mince is going. It's browning. So I'm going to leave that for a little bit longer and go back to finishing off the pastry. Here the quiche needs a little bit more reinforcement. So I'm going to use the second piece of pastry now and just slice that in half and place that around there just to stop it from leaking through the base of the pie and around the sides. I know it doesn't look that pretty, but it worked in the end. And I'll just give that a couple of little pricks with the fork. And I'm just going to kind of blind bake it. I'm just going to put it in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I'm going to bring that out and put the ingredients in it. So here the mince is ready now. So I'm going to put 1 can of diced tomatoes. I'll put that into the mince. You can use a couple of cans, or you could use 2 pasta sauces, but here I'm just going to use a can of tomatoes and 1 Ragoletto pasta sauce. I've put a little bit of water in the jar and I've given a bit of a shake. I can't believe how much extra sauce I got out of that. And so now I'm just going to give that a little bit of a stir and let that simmer for a while. The longer you leave this to cook, the better it is. I'm going to pop 2 bay leaves in. I'm going to leave that to cook with the bay leaves, and even when I put it in the oven, I'll leave the bay leaves in there and I'll put the lid on that and leave it. My kids told me they were hungry right in the middle of me cooking this, and I had a half a piece of puff pastry left, so I thought I'd just put some Vegemite and some cheese and twist that up and put it in the oven while the oven was already on. And usually when kids are hungry, they want something right there and then. But these didn't take long to cook. So I'm adding 300 ml of thickened cream to a mixing bowl, and I'll add 5 eggs to that with a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm not sure why I'm cracking the eggs into the mixture. My mum always taught me never to do that. I usually crack them into a separate bowl first in case the eggs are off or there's some problem with them. You could make 2 quiches out of this recipe if I would have added the 600 ml of milk and put about 8 eggs in. It doesn't take much to cook 2 quiches. They're usually pretty quick and easy, and you don't need a lot of ingredients. You can make the spinach quiche like I'm making. You could make a ham one. You could make an asparagus quiche. You could even just make a cheese and onion one. It doesn't have to be too complicated. I've let the spinach and onion cool a little while before adding it to the cream and the egg. Then I'll just mix all that together. A couple of weeks ago, I made this with grated potato in it. So I just added the potato with the same mixture, and it was really beautiful. It made it really thick as well. Now I'll just pour the mixture onto the pastry very gently, because it just looked like I had more mixture than I did pie base here. And as you can see, there's a part of the pastry that didn't rise up to the top. But I have only left it in the oven for a little while. It's only been in for 5 to 10 minutes just to do a blind bake. I'm just going to sprinkle the cheese over the top of the pie now. I love having this shredded cheese for pies like this. It just makes it so much easier. So I'll sprinkle that over the top. This is basically it then. I'll put that in the oven for about 45 minutes on around about 180 degrees. And just checking on the mince now, it looks like the sauce is getting really rich and thick. I finally made myself a cup of tea, and I'm going to start layering the lasagna. First, I'm going to put the first layer on the bottom of the lasagna dish. I don't usually do this, but this time I'm going to. And these sheets fitted perfectly into the lasagna dish. And I'm just going to top that with the mince mixture now. And I'll just spread that around now to make sure that it covers the lasagna sheets completely, because I am using the dry lasagna sheets. So now I've just got the Leggo's lasagna bechamel sauce here. I usually make my own bechamel sauce, but today I just wanted to make a quick lasagna, and this does make it quick if you have the sauce and the grated cheese already prepared for you. And this jar actually went such a long way. I didn't need any more than 1 jar for this whole lasagna. So I'm just going to try and spread that over the top of the mince now, and using the spatula worked a lot better. But some people layer the lasagna sheets and then the white sauce or the bechamel sauce. I find that if you probably did do it first like that, the bechamel sauce would go smoothly over the top of the lasagna sheets. Spreading it this way is a lot harder to do. So next time when I make a lasagna, I will do it the other way around. But this fed us for a few nights. So between the spinach quiche and the lasagna, I had 3 nights up my sleeve. And every night I could have just put something different with it, some mashed potato or salad. And these 2 dishes are really good for family get-togethers. They feed a lot of people, and you always have a lot of leftovers. And you can see I have left the bay leaves in the lasagna, but I hope I remember to take them out before serving the lasagna out. But if you cook the bay leaves in the lasagna this way in the oven, you will get a really nice strong flavour. Just remember to take the bay leaves out after you've cooked it. I'm at the final stages of putting it all together now. It's quite satisfying when you're nearly finished making a big lasagna. So now I've just topped it off with the mince. Make sure that you always put the mince on top of the sheets So you have to really make sure that it's completely covered and it's not going to dry out, because that's what will happen if you just put the lasagna sheet down last and then the cheese over the top. It'll dry out and get really crispy and crunchy, and it won't be even worth eating that top part. And I still have heaps of this bechamel sauce left. Sometimes when I make a lasagna, I do put a layer of cream over the top too. That actually makes it really rich. But I had a little bit of the bechamel sauce still left in the jar, and I thought I'd just put a tiny bit of cream in the top, give it a bit of a shake, and mix it all in together, spread it over the top with my spatula, and then I'll layer it with cheese. That's all put in the oven. I'm going to sit down now and have my cup of tea, and I've got these Vegemite cheese pastry twists. So I've taken the quiche and the lasagna out of the oven, and I'm going to let that cool down. Both of these were put in the oven for around 45 minutes. I'll be sure to put the recipes for all these meals in the description below. And once they cool down, I'm just going to put the alfoil over them so then I can store them in the fridge. And just cooking a few of these meals just made the week run so much smoother. I'm going to try and do this a lot more. I used to have a freezer packed with pre-made foods that I'd cook. It used to make life so much easier. So when I sliced it up, because I blind baked it, the base was cooked. I don't always do that, but it does help blind baking it first. And having two meals already prepared and cooked like this gave everyone a choice of what they wanted to eat. So this is another night now during the week, and I just didn't feel like cooking too much. So I searched through what I had in the cupboard and the fridge, and I'm just going to make up a really quick chicken breast and salsa. I've done this before with just a half a can of pineapple and a salsa mixture, which is really nice, but I'm just going to put the salsa in this one because the salsa's got capsicum, it's got tomato in it, it's got that vinegary taste, and it's also got onions as well, so you don't need to cut up the onions with it. So it's just basically chopping up the chicken breast. I've got 2 big fillets here, and I'm just going to put it in a baking dish once I've chopped it up, and I'm going to pour over the El Paso salsa over the top of it. And I'm going to top that with some more shredded cheese. And I'm going to top it with a few olives because my kids really love olives. You could actually put some rice at the bottom of this as well and cook it all up and make it more like a Mexican chicken. This is quite an easy recipe if you're ever stuck for something. And it's got a lot more flavour than just adding a can of tomatoes. So I'm just going to stir that up now so it goes through all the chicken. You could possibly marinate this the night before to really get the flavours through the chicken breast. So I've just lightly oiled another pan, well, a casserole dish is what I'm using here. And I've got these deli vegetables that you saw me have in my last grocery haul. They were the best thing to have in the freezer. And I know I've sort of giving the family some good food there, but I know I didn't cook it myself, but it was so easy. It had carrots in it. It's got red onion, potatoes, and pumpkin. So that was a really good bag of veggies, and I'd buy that again. So this was the final product, and it was quick, easy, and I just added some peas with it. On the same night, I'm making a dessert. This is the milk chocolate ganache tarts by White Wings. It's so quick and easy, but for some reason I procrastinated about making this for so long. I've had it in the cupboard for about a month now, and I'm not sure why, because it was a real easy recipe to make. And it's so good to have this dessert in the cupboard if you're having guests. It did make 6 tarts, and they were really rich because I put cream with them. So I'm just going to rub the butter into the tart mix now. It's like a biscuit base, and I'll mix that all up together till it becomes like really coarse. And then I'm going to add 1 egg yolk and just sort of form a dough out of it. I'm not sure if anyone else separates their eggs this way. I've always done that. So I've put the egg yolk into the mixture now, and I'm just going to mix that up. And here I'm just going to grease the muffin containers. I think the muffin containers were too big for this recipe. I'm dividing the dough now into 6 balls. Once I've put the balls into the muffin pan, I'm going to pat that down firmly into the base. I should have covered each one with the biscuit base all the way to the top. For some reason, I just thought it was going to rise, but it didn't. And that sort of didn't make a cup out of it that way. So I've just patted it down halfway, as you can see, and then I'll put it in the oven. You place that in the oven for about 18 to 20 minutes on 140 degrees. And then while that's cooking, I'm just going to mix in 1/3 of a cup of thickened cream, which is 85 ml. I'll add the cream to the chocolate buds that I got in the box. You place that in the microwave for 40 seconds to 1 minute, and then you stir every 20 seconds until it's smooth. At this point now, I took the baked tarts out of the muffin containers to let them cool down, thinking that the mixture was going to be thick enough for me to pour on top. But because I didn't make the cases high enough to contain the mixture, it wasn't going to work that way. So instead I had to put the tarts back into the muffin container, and then I poured the chocolate over the top of each tart, and then I placed that in the fridge, and luckily enough it really worked. And then these tarts will go into the refrigerator for 2 hours or overnight just to firm up, and you serve them cold. So I've put a teaspoon of sugar into the thickened cream, and I'm just going to mix that up now. And once all that's done, I'll be able to serve them out. Everyone really liked them. I had a couple more for the next day. So this was a really good box, and I'll put the recipe down below, but you can buy these from Woolworths. I think I got these on special. Thanks for joining today, and that's some of our meals for the week, and I hope you've really enjoyed this. I'm really excited to make more of these videos, and if this is something that you like to watch, then please subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Thanks again. Bye.